Kawhi Leonard's brand is being the quiet type, a silent assassin. While Kawhi has cemented his reputation as one of the best players to play in the game today, a future Hall of Famer, many NBA fans have had difficulty accepting his introverted personality and being a hard read. While Kawhi occasionally displays some dry humor and subtle sarcasm,
I'm a fun guy.
many NBA fans perceive Kawhi as being a weird, monotoned, emotionless, or boring person. On social media, you can find countless viral memes and video edits that mock Kawhi's interviews, voice, and overall demeanor. But what Kawhi portrays, what he shows the cameras, is not what's beneath the surface. There's a whole other world that exists deep inside Kawhi, one that isn't revealed during post-game interviews. Kawhi doesn't show the world his scars, the pain he's carried with him for many years and throughout his entire professional basketball career. A pain that most of us could never comprehend, one caused by a horrific, violent tragedy, an act of evil. So gather around for story time. Who is the real Kawhi? June 29, 1991, Kawhi Anthony Leonard was born in Los Angeles, California, to Kim Robertson and Mark Leonard. While Kawhi's parents were divorced, he didn't grow up in a broken home. However, the home he was raised in was surrounded by a very dangerous and unforgiving environment. Violence was peaking in LA right around his birth, with 2,589 murders reported in 1991, including many unsolved mysteries, such as the one endured by the Leonard family. Kawhi and his four sisters were exposed to the streets and world of gangs, drugs, gambling, and prostitution during their childhood. Luckily, Kawhi had two guardian angels to keep him out of trouble growing up, his dad and sports. While Kawhi lived with his mom and his dad remarried to another woman, the father and son were as close as they could be. Mark Leonard was more than a dad to Kawhi. He was a mentor, a best friend, someone he could talk to and trust. He also helped mold Kawhi into becoming the elite athlete he is today. The two trained together, lifted together, sprinted, and did all sorts of drills together to perfect Kawhi's game in both football and basketball. Not to mention, Kawhi's dad would never miss any of his games. When Kawhi and his pops just wanted to kick it and spend quality time with one another, they'd hang out and work together at Kawhi's dad's car wash in Compton. Mark Leonard had plenty enough business to keep a young Kawhi active at the car wash and learn how to put in an honest day's work. A work ethic that Kawhi would carry for the rest of his life and take him places he couldn't imagine. Kawhi worked side by side with his dad, washing and detailing cars all day in the summers. But after a long day toiling underneath the blazing summer sun, the father-son duo would still head to the park to play football and run drills. Football was Mark Leonard's passion, his favorite sport. He was in love with the game. Knowing that his son had the tools to make it to the NFL one day, he worked tirelessly to support Kawhi in achieving that dream. However, that NFL dream was only Mark's. When Kawhi told his dad he wanted to give up football to pursue his NBA dreams, he was hurt, but he stayed equally as committed to helping Kawhi become the greatest basketball player he could possibly be. Kawhi's dad was his rock, his support system through all the ups and downs of his life, and now he was a piece of the puzzle to Kawhi's basketball success. Kawhi committed to playing only basketball by his sophomore year of high school. By this time, he was 6'6" and 190 pounds, built like an NBA player at 15 years old. From here, Kawhi's basketball journey began to take off. Kawhi transferred to Riverside's Martin Luther King High School the following year and became a local celebrity practically overnight. By his senior year, he led his team alongside future NBA player Tony Snell to a 30-3 record, averaging 22.6 points, 13.1 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and 3 blocks per game. He was ranked the 8th best small forward in the nation and dubbed Mr. Basketball in California. With his NBA dream now becoming an imminent reality, Kawhi was on an all-time high. But tragically, he would soon be brought down to an all-time low. Kawhi lost his best friend, role model, and hero, his father, Mark Leonard. Kawhi lost his dad due to a senseless, gut-wrenching act of violence. Mark Leonard had a fatal encounter just 24 hours before one of Kawhi's upcoming games. He was in the middle of closing up his shop when several men approached him, leading to a heated argument. One of the guys abruptly took out his gun and fired 30 shots at Mark, with 10 bullets landing. After being rushed to the hospital, Mark Leonard was immediately pronounced dead on site. The man responsible for Mark's death was never found, and a motive for the shooting was never determined. Mark Leonard left behind a loving family, heartbroken, disturbed, and lost after this senseless murder. But no one struggled to cope with the tragedy as much as Kawhi. He had spoken to his father just hours before, and now suddenly, he was gone. Mark Leonard was so much more than a father to Kawhi. He was a piece of him. Somehow, Kawhi managed to bring himself to play his upcoming game without his number one fan in the stands. He played from start to finish without letting his heartbreak consume him or showing any emotion on the court. He scored 17 points and got the win. When the final buzzer sounded off, Kawhi rushed to his mom and collapsed in her arms, crying in disbelief. He could no longer call his best friend after practice, kick it at the car wash with his pops, or look up in the stands and see his dad cheering him on after hitting a dagger to win the game. Life had to go on, and Kawhi knew he needed to move forward no matter how difficult it became. Kawhi poured all his emotion and focus, every ounce of energy he had, into basketball to escape his pain. Making it to the NBA became his distraction. Kawhi left his house at 5 a.m. every morning before his college classes at San Diego State University to train, choosing to play ball at SDSU to stay close with his family. He then spent his afternoons training at 3 different gyms. When his practices were over, he'd head to LA Fitness to run pickup games and lift until they turned the lights off on him. Kawhi put in work from dawn to dusk every day until his dream was realized. Above all, he worked on refining and perfecting his offensive game. Kawhi was already a tenacious elite defender, a dog. But he knew to stand out in college and make it to the NBA, he needed a much bigger bag on offense and a jumper that scouts would respect. As a sophomore, Kawhi clawed his way to averaging a double-double, 15.5 points and 10.6 rebounds per game. He led his team to the Sweet 16 that year and solidified himself as a worthy upcoming first-round NBA draft pick. He accomplished all of this on the court with a stoic, calm look on his face every minute he played. All the emotion and energy in his body was poured into his craft on the court with every dribble, shot, block, and pass. Kawhi finally made it. He was an NBA player after being selected 15th overall by the San Antonio Spurs in the 2011 draft. His life's work and mission were accomplished. He was now living the dream him and his father shared. All the countless hours of training together after washing cars paid off. In 2012, Kawhi made the All-NBA Rookie First Team and finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. Just 2 years later, Kawhi led the Spurs to defeat the Miami Heat Big Three in the NBA Finals and became one of the youngest Finals MVPs in league history. But what made the award truly special to Kawhi wasn't because of how young he was or that he beat LeBron James, but because he won it on Father's Day. The most outstanding achievement of his basketball career would be celebrated on the day he'd honor his late best friend, mentor, and loving father. While Kawhi developed the reputation of being a silent assassin, an emotionless, stoic leader on the court, he couldn't help but let the emotion flow out of him once he grasped that championship trophy on Father's Day. So if you thought Kawhi was one big mystery, an emotionless Terminator out on the court that couldn't care less if he's trending on social media, then you're still right. Kawhi Leonard isn't in it for the money, the fame, or the glory. Kawhi plays for the love of the game, to relive a dream he shared with his father every time he laces up his kicks and walks through the tunnel to take the NBA court. A dream that will never die, as it will be remembered and felt through timeless, iconic NBA moments that Kawhi Leonard will leave behind one day. I'm James, and I hope you enjoyed Storytime. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to watch weekly stories about your favorite athletes that you want to hear but never knew.